Well, welcome to the June 7th, 2022 session of Tangerine SDR and Hamside Technical Session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and for the last couple of days, I've been working on recording the recordings of the forums at Hamvention. And I've gotten the Tapper forum and the SDR forum videos up on YouTube, and they're on Tapper Digital on YouTube, and they are playlists for each forum, so you can check it out there. I will get the Hamsci talks up in the next couple days, and then I also have a recording of the banquet, the AMSAT Tapper banquet, and that will be up as well. So that's been it for me this week. Next on the list, we have Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. Well, it's been busy. Summer research is in full swing. I have about 7 or 8 students working for me this summer on all sorts of different projects, including this one. So Kung is back working on this one again, and he had a nice telecon, or we had a nice telephone chat with Scotty last week, and Kung is very excited to actually get real hardware to play with. And, Veronica's working on looking at traveling atmospheric disturbances and the GRAPE data, SIML, and there's a new student working on the chirp sounder. We have 2 new students working on ray tracing, and they'll be doing SAMI 3. Diego is still working on traveling atmospheric disturbances in the RBN and WhisperNet data. And Diego is actually he's actually writing an actual manuscript for a publication, and it's coming along really nicely. So he usually joins us at our Tuesday morning telecons. So all of that's going very well. I'm getting ready to go to the Youth on the Air camp this weekend along with Veronica. I'm going to be the keynote speaker, which I still need to write that talk, but that'll be this weekend in Cincinnati. And then the next week, the week after that, we're going to this NSF CEDAR conference in Austin, Texas. And, we have 4 students going to that, and I definitely have some more posters and researchy stuff I need to get pulled together for that, but it'll happen too. And today, I'm very happy to say that we actually finally got out on the quad and we set up our buddy poll, and we made our first HF contact from the University of Scranton campus using our IC 7300 and the buddy poll with the students. And we talked to W0 Bravo Oscar Whiskey on the, I think the free pack net today. And so we got some nice video footage of all of that. So that was a lot of fun. So W2NF back to net.
Well, fine business, and congratulations on making a contact with the club. That's always exciting for the students.
Definitely.
Next on the list, we have Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
He caught me sneaking off to do something else real quick. I've been still trying to get my off-center fed dipole inverted V up where I want it. And I just about had it this afternoon when I pulled on the wrong rope, pulled the other end of it out of reach, which is going to set me back about 10 steps. But I will get it one of these days. And otherwise, I really haven't had a chance to do much. Continue to monitor the GRAPE 1. And boy, on the 28th, we really had some exciting things happening. That's about it. Back to net.
Okay, well, fine business. And next on the list is Bill, AB4EJ. Go ahead, Bill. Sorry, I think it was JE. Bill, I'm not getting a voice. Well, we'll come back to Bill. If he can't, give him a chance to fix it. Next,
I can tell you I think he's at a hotel at the NASA CCMC meeting.
Okay. Well, Bill, good to see you. And let's see, what does the chat say here? I see him typing. Well, I'm going to go ahead and on down the list to Kong. Go ahead. Is he there? There you are. Go ahead.
Hello, long time no see.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm finally back on the project now.
Okay.
So that's gonna be my thing for the summer again. Yeah, and another good news is that I got my license.
Well, very good.
Yeah, a short while ago. Yeah, I'm now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
And he made it to Dayton.
Hmm?
And he made it to the Dayton Ham Pension.
Yes.
Oh
Very
yes.
good.
Yeah, that was very fun, very exciting. Lots of interesting characters there.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the one with the antenna on his helmet.
Yes.
Lots of places to spend money.
Yes. So are you getting geared up to do some more FPGA programming?
Yes, that's right. Actually, already made some really good progress. So previously, lots of problems with the Neos, the Eclipse environment on Windows 10. And then that laptop was really slow for me, so I got a new one and had a Windows 11, and that didn't help much either.
Yeah.
Then I tried Ubuntu. It has lots of problems with that as well, but then I switched to Sans OS, and I'm running that very smoothly right now.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I was able to run some simple, say, Hello World program on the Neos.
Very good.
Yeah. And I was also playing with the dual configuration on that feature.
Yeah. Now, Tom likes to run VMs to run, so he runs Ubuntu in a VM when he does FPGA programming.
No,
is that right?
No, I'm running it on Ubuntu 20.04, just straight up on a hardware machine.
Oh, straight up. I'm sorry. I thought you were using VMs.
I use them for a lot of other things, but it was challenging enough to get it to work on real hardware.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw his there's a document on the website from Tom that has something about Ubuntu, and I tried those steps and it didn't help much. So I had to switch to the CentOS. I wasn't sure why, but yeah, it had no problem.
Well, we'll have time to talk some more later on the list, but I want to go down the list. So
that was good. Thank you.
Next on the list, we have Tom in 5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, good evening, Dave, and evening to the group. Not too much to report here. I did get Tailscale working on Starlink, so I can now VPN into my home network through Starlink, and I've got a Docker container running a subnet router, and I can advertise my subnet, so I can get into the home network and all the devices on it remotely. And I don't know what magic is going on there. There's a lot of magic, I'm told. So that's about it for the week. Back to the group.
Well, that sounds like quite a deal, getting all that set up.
Yeah, the Starlink runs CG-NAT, carrier grade NAT. So it's worse than a dynamic IP address. It's no IP address at all, or actually an IP address shared with 127 different other folks. So that's makes it quite a challenge.
Yes. Well, it sounds like you're going to have some adventures.
Yeah.
So next on the list is Dave, KD0 EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Hello. Just been fiddling with code for remote magnetometer nodes and working a bit with Amartya on some stuff. Other than that, nothing real exciting to report. So back to you.
Okay. Next on the list is James, KG4 DSG. Go ahead, James. No camera working. I see a mic, but I don't hear you. Okay, well, we'll go on down the list. Next on the list is David in 1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Hello to the net. Sorry, wasn't able to get to Hamvention, but I hope a good time was had by all, and I look forward to seeing results. And I've been getting our Baffin Island project pulled together. That has to ship out soon, and working on Antarctica solar systems and such. So been busy, and also looking forward to an update on our prototype hardware. So back to net.
Well, fine business. And next on the list, let's see, is Jay, WB8 SBI. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, hello there, everybody. I just joined late, literally a couple minutes ago. Recovered all from the being one of the 31,300 people that attended the reunion and pilgrimage in this place called Xenia, Ohio. Otherwise, amateur radio-wise, we did Parks on the Air this Saturday. As far as this group goes, unfortunately, due to other commitments, I have nothing new to report at this time. Hope everybody is well, stay safe, take care, and I'll just be reading the mail here.
Very good. And next on the list is Joe, W7LUX.
Good evening, everyone. Been working with the city trying to get a field day set up. We're very concerned the forest will be closed due to extreme fire danger in this area. Very, very dry and very windy. And we've already had 2 fires that caused some problems. One of them burned up a national monument pretty badly. But anyway, so I've been doing that. And the grape results, as Jim mentioned, are very, very much more unstable than they used to be. If I may share my screen, we'll try share screen, see if that works. What am I seeing here? Maybe that. Have you got my 4 different plots?
Yes.
Okay. The one at the upper left, right in this area, shows what I have been seeing for the last year as far as the Doppler results during the daytime for WWV 10 megahertz. And it gets a little bit messier. And Jim mentioned the 28th, and there's some pretty extreme values here on the 28th. But recently, it's been looking more like this during the daytime. And I just didn't expect that at all. Now, some of these may be due to solar flares. And I suspect this one is. I'm not so sure about these 2. But I have no idea what happened here in the middle of the night on this one. But anyway, very unusual or very different results coming in from the grape receiver. And that's pretty much what I've got. I got to figure out how to unshare here. I guess you can do that, can't you, Dave?
I think Nathaniel helped you.
I can help out. I also wanted to say that regarding the 28th, I looked at the AE index and it was quite high. It reached up to 1,000 nanoteslas, which is a very high value. So there definitely was a lot of auroral activity this weekend.
Wow. Okay.
Was that when we had extended K = 5?
It might have been.
Yeah, there was some real, I can't remember what day that was, but there was one
it was
that was
over
quite active.
The CQ World Prefix CW contest, and people reported like auroral flutter, like reception, just going from coast to coast in the US.
Yeah, I could hear flutter on the high WWV frequencies. I remember that.
Okay, I'm going to finish up the list here. I want to go back to James. James, are you working now?
I think so. You got audio?
Yep, audio.
Okay, I just had to replug the camera. I don't know why it quit. Not much to report here. I'd just like to tell Nathaniel, welcome to Cincinnati. That camp is being held at the Bethany VOA station that's out of service at this point, but it's a nice facility. It's got a nice museum. You might want to set some time aside. They got a huge Drake museum because Drake used to be in the area. And some of that stuff is gorgeous. It's unused from the factory. Other than that, back to the net.
Okay. Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I was on a work trip the past couple of weeks. This weekend, what I was working on, my parts came in for my EBNOT VLF transmission rig, a Hammond enclosure, and some other parts. I'm getting the Raspberry Pi, the sound card, audio jacks, power jack, network serial, things like that. Getting all the parts together and starting on the mechanical build and fitment. So this little enclosure, this will be able to do EBNOT and GPS locked carrier transmissions. Just has to be connected to a power amplifier. I'm going to use my phase linear for that. I also ordered most of the parts for my 3-channel VLF system. It will that will be able to capture 2 channels from orthogonal B field receivers and an E field. That will be exciting because that will give you bearing and also distance estimation on signals. So that's also really exciting. And I'm also working on my B field receiver. That's going to be in another Hammond enclosure and another test box for it. So that will complete the ensemble. You'll have an E field receiver and a orthogonal B field receivers. And that will be the ultimate in VLF spectrum capture. So I'm pretty excited about that. There's a lot you can do with those signals. Also, I'm part of a Facebook group that deals with transient luminous events. And I'm very interested in the spherics that generate them. I posted on the list and ELVES event that was captured. So there are lightning discharges that have continuing currents after the initial discharge, and those continuing currents create an ELF signature which can be seen in the time domain plot. I posted a time domain plot of that specific spheric for that ELVS event, and you can see that it has a bit of an ELF tail, and that is evidence of a continuing current. To further support that evidence, you would look at other VLF receivers across the world, specifically the ones farther away. So there were two in, there's one in Europe and one in Italy. And it also captured that spheric, and it also captured a much larger or a much longer ELF tail as the propagation distance increases. The ELF tail is much longer. So there's a longer duration ELF component in the time domain. So that was actually really cool to actually capture something like that on the receiver. But in reality, I'm probably capturing probably hundreds of those events. It's just that there are so many spherics. It's hard to go through them all. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Well, fine business, Jonathan. Next on the list is Jules, KG2. No.
Close, K2KGJ.
Okay, I got it backwards. Sorry. Go ahead.
Right, everybody. It's a hard call for some reason. Yeah, I'm working on another PVC variable enclosure, RM3100 enclosure for a human who needs it by the 1st of July for something that he's working on. Also, I made contact with a colleague I used to work with back in the late or early 80s at the Lamont Doherty Geophysical Observatory down in the Palisades, part of Columbia University at the Paleomagnetics Lab. He was director at the time. And I was going to meet with him locally for lunch on Wednesday and kind of bring him up to date on what's happening in Hamsai. I think they might be interested. Other than that, that's about it here. Other than dealing with a caterpillar, a gypsy moth caterpillar-induced rash, for which I'm on an antihistamine. But other than that, that's about it. Turn it back. Oh yes, Noel was hoping that Scotty might show up to get an update on the current production status of the new mag boards for the Pi. And back to net.
Fine business. I did get a message from Scotty. He said he had a tooth extraction today and was not feeling like talking. But I know that he was getting boards shortly. Nathaniel, do you have any update on the boards?
I don't have any update beyond what you are saying.
Okay. I know that he should be getting mag boards, but I haven't. I also am aware of traffic on the Tapper board list, and there has been nothing about new boards arriving yet. So it should be just within a week or two. We hope. But anyway, let's see. Noel, KB0, VGI. Go ahead, Noel.
Right. Good evening. I put on the chat a list to my Adafruit website where you can see 3 different magnetometers are running. I buried 2 new ones, an RM3100 and a 3-axis FLC 100, and they're now sort of settling out, and they're buried about 40 inches into the ground. So in a very quiet environment here, we're getting some good data. This is raw data. I know that we've had a number of discussions back and forth about whether we should have, Jules said whether we should be averaging, but right now we're just looking at the raw data coming from 3 different magnetometers. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks. And unless somebody else is, Bill, Is Bill
Yeah,
available?
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I made the mistake yesterday of I thought maybe I could work some stations from here and install Flex Radio on my laptop here. And I can get into my radio, but somehow I managed to corrupt the regular driver for the laptop microphone. So it no longer even shows up in the list of available devices. So I'll have to reinstall it from Microsoft, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, as Nathaniel mentioned earlier, I'm at the CCMC workshop here, University of Maryland, just on the outskirts of Washington, D.C., and learning more than you would ever possibly want to know about models used for modeling the various heliocentric, or rather, the various different systems all around the Earth and everything like that. And on Wednesday, we'll give a little short presentation about the work I've been doing in using this ham radio spot data to look for transient ionospheric disturbances. So that'll be going on. On this project, a couple of things. Right now, I'm dealing with some security issues on the central control system. For a while, it was working where you could get into it via the public internet, and on Monday of last week, it just mysteriously stopped working. And I guess it was anyway. So they're looking at trying to figure out what's going on with that. I asked them in the meantime to go ahead and install the University of Alabama's SSL key on there so I can run HTTPS on the system. So hopefully we'll get that done this week. And also on the GRAPE system, I've got it to where it will upload to the central control system as if it were a Tangerine, and it keeps the database updated on the most recent. It knows the extents of the data correctly and the size of the data packet for each observation. Well, then I realized I thought maybe I could work around the problem with being able to get into the system via HTTP by installing the VPN client on the GRAPE. And no, that won't work because you got to have the most recent version of Ubuntu. So now I've launched into upgrading the Raspberry Pi that runs the GRAPE to Ubuntu 22. Whatever it is, .10 or 04 or whatever it is, the long-term support version. And so then I ran into issues of permissions on the serial port necessary to communicate with the GPS. So the fun never stops. So it's just standard stuff. So anyway, that's the situation from here.
Well, thank you for your report. Sticking with it to give us your report.
Yeah, Nathaniel advised me on using the phone to call in. I'd forgotten about that option. It's been so long since I used it.
Yeah.
How's the CCMC meeting so far?
It's long and continuous. Long and continuous. So lots and lots of topics are being discussed in great detail that are either above my head or I'm not that interested in. So I'm doing the best I can to gain little nuggets of knowledge out of it here and there and write them down. So
very good.
Very good. Okay, well, that was everybody on the list, I think. And so we're open for general discussion.
Well, I guess a few things. I know Dave Witten and Jules and Noel, you had sent some emails out about the hardware X paper for the magnetometer, and you talked about maybe discussing things on Zoom.
Oh, that was actually, that was Dave and I were going to get together initially because this is a paper that Hillman sent us some information on, and I believe you also.
right
for a refereed paper.
Yeah.
And
I think I'm the one that sent that out. I talked to,
you might be the one.
Yeah. I talked to Dave about it while I was
Right.
at Hamvention.
Okay. Well, basically there are a few points we need to get in order to figure out where we're going to go with the paper.
Okay.
I just sent Dave a set of points on the hardware issue that I think kind of solidifies where we are as the generation 1, which is essentially, because it's out there and it's installed, it's basically equivalent. There's no Gen 2. There are some ideas for Gen 2, maybe Gen 3, unlike Grape Gen 2, which is basically in process and
Right.
the boards are made. So we're kind of on that level of the Grape Gen. And the board, of course, is compatible with anything that comes out with the respect to future stuff for the Raspberry Pi.
Mm-hmm.
Any changes that can be made in hardware are downstream. We've got what we need now, so we have to define, okay, how are we going to qualify that hardware? What is the standard for it? Then in the second part of that is in the data processing, data collection and data processing, what are the standards that are going to be used for that in terms of sample rates, what we're looking for in terms of resolution, the presentation of the data as it's delivered to some sort of a database.
Mm-hmm.
All of those items have to be covered and decided as well. So that was kind of the discussion. I think initially Dave and I wanted to talk about how this thing would be segmented. The hardware, I believe we've got a pretty good, and Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have a pretty good idea of how we would present that with the current hardware design.
Yeah, I'm comfortable about it. I would still like to have a little chat, and I don't know if there's anything we need to discuss with Yeoman about that, whether that's the current status or whether that's future things or just general qualification. Right. But certainly I'd love to end up with something that's where we have a clear notion that we have, or at least how much of the available performance we've been able to nail down, and a defensible sort of set of data that lets people know what it does and doesn't do for this and other applications. There probably later generations probably have more to do with deployment options, for difficult situations or other options, and knowing what some of the options that we initially just dismissed out of hand, whether they really were feasible or not. We didn't want to take a chance on them at first, but now some of them might be pretty handy if we could do it. So, it's nice to have some ongoing goals as well as a clear statement of where we are.
Yeah, and we can deal with, some ideas and some of the experiments we've already done, not ready for prime time, but certainly can be described in appendices in the paper as an indication of where we could go, where we might go from here.
Sure. And we really want to know where things stand relative to the other the roads not taken, or the things that other people like Noel are working on. Just to be able to say this is what we did and why we did it, or at least defend it, since those are the things I'd like anyway.
That sounds really good.
But and one thing that kind of slipped my mind in all this is, since you gave me the initial paper and I've scribbled all over it, and I have Sunday night's dinner that I ordered on the back of it. I don't remember exactly what you were hoping the timing of this would be, when you'd like us to get it done by.
Well, I think no later than December 2023.
Good. 2023.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. You got time.
Okay, but so the grant officially ends this December 2022, but we're going to request a no cost extension. So I'd really like, from the grant perspective, I'd like to have something I can report to the to what do you call it, to the NSF, to say, okay, here's a publication that came out of this grant before the grant's over.
Yeah,
So I mean,
I was looking at, for some reason, I was looking at November of this year as,
I mean,
as
that would
kind
be
of an initial
better.
deadline.
Yeah, that would be much. So I mean, that would be ideal, because then I could include it in this year's annual report, and then it shows we're making really good progress.
Yeah, we can certainly flesh everything out by then.
Yeah. And I mean, even if it's just submitted by this annual report, that's a really big deal. Because that would be fantastic.
That's a more generous schedule than I was thinking. So that's good by me.
Great. Yeah, I think if you are able to put this paper together by then, I mean, I think that would really be fantastic.
Okay. I'd like to include, if it works, I'd like to include Amartya and some of the pulling some of this together too. So it's a good way to structure, make sure that he has a clear idea of what we're trying to accomplish, and give him something tangible to point to too.
Yeah,
that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, the actual measurements are only a piece of this whole process.
Yeah, and the NSF also really likes having high school students be a part of this too. So
good.
I mean, yeah, that absolutely.
Got nothing against that.
Yep.
I want to jump in here a minute, and I was on the Tangerine website, and I was trying to update the status page, and I think I have it updated to where we are with boards being tested or development. If you see any errors, please let me know and I'll fix them. And if you have any documentation on anything you've been working on that's related to the development of boards or software, I'd like to know about that. And because we keep telling people to go to the TangerineSDR website to learn more about the project.
Okay, and that's posted on the website?
On the website at the bottom, there's on the sidebar, there's a status.
Okay.
And if you go to the status, I'm trying to keep track of different phases of each project's development. And so that way people can know that things are progressing.
Right.
But I marked several of the development boards as being done and marked several of the softwares as in progress, or at least should be starting to get in progress.
Okay, Nathaniel, one comment I made relative to the meeting I'm having with Dennis Kent from Lamont Doherty Geophysical. They have an open house every year. This year it's going to be in October, and it's for high school students, grade school students, families, and so on and so forth, to basically tour the Institute and look at all the programs they have, going from geophysics to environmental sciences to geomagnetics to geochemistry to a variety of different things, seismology and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking it might not be a bad idea if we could get a poster in on the HamSci project, since there'll be some high schoolers coming to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I gave Dennis the basically your email and the basic HamSci description. And when I talk with him on Wednesday, I'll see what he knows about the possibility of getting something in like that.
Okay, that sounds great. And if you need me to come up with a general poster about it, I can do that. If you want to make one, that's great too. I can also provide poster templates, whatever works.
Great, I'll be in touch.
Whatever you think would be good.
Okay.
And then let's see, Jonathan, I will get that stuff from Majid, and let's see. And I have all the stuff to put up the GPS antenna now. The only thing I don't have is time, because I have a conference this coming weekend and the week after that. So I'm hoping after I get back from CDAR, I'm hoping we can have a work day to put up the GPS antenna before I run off to Switzerland for a week.
Okay, that's good. Did Majid and Dr. Spletta get all the parts for the Radio Jove antenna?
I believe we have, yes, they have that as well. I think we're going to want to lay more conduit. So I was talking to Rachel about where we're going to put it. There's a section of grass. Actually, I've got a photo of it. Mary Lou West warned me that you need to put the Radio Jove antenna someplace where you don't need to worry about mowing, because she put one up at her house one time and her husband was not happy with the amount of mowing he had to do. So what we were thinking of doing is we'd put the Radio Jove antenna over here. So here's your VLF antenna. We'd put the Jove antenna over here, and then I'd mow this for the installation, but then once we install it, I wouldn't worry about mowing it anymore. And we would trench from here to there to connect it. But the good news for you and for me and everyone else involved in the project is that my next door neighbor who lives behind or has a property behind us, he's a professional excavator, and he offered to do the trenching for us. So we don't actually have to do the digging.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then we could probably use those two extra pieces of conduit you have.
Yeah. And then if we need to buy any more, we can. But that way we can lay the conduit under here. We can put up a nice Radio Jove antenna here, and then we'll be able to mow the track around here, because we like being able to walk around the field and such. So, yeah. But that way the Jove antenna will be over here, a little separated from the VLF, and it'll have its own, connections. So
I have a question about Radio Jove.
Sure.
I've had a Radio Jove receiver here for a decade at least. I helped one of the local schools get one going there, but the local, the noise, the RFI was so bad that we could barely hear solar flares. I'm somewhat out in the country, and I was able to detect quite a few solar eruptions during the last cycle, but I have never heard anything from Jupiter. Has anybody here ever heard anything from Jupiter?
I haven't personally, but it is documented, and you can find papers and presentations with it. Have you been to Dave Typinski's website?
I'm not familiar with that.
Here, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
So Dave Typinski is AJ4CO. He's down in Florida, and he's very skilled with this sort of thing. And if you click on his pubs tab, he has all sorts of, they're more PowerPoint presentations and publications, but he should have some actual Jupiter measurements there.
Okay, I've tried off and on for years and never have heard anything from Jupiter.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of solar stuff, but then the sun's a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I think you also need to make sure like Jupiter is perhaps, aligned, overhead properly, and you
Right.
have the antenna pointing in the right direction. But I mean, I've played with Radio Jove on and off myself, and I've only seen solar things as well. But I really haven't tried. I haven't. This is really going to be my first foray into actually doing anything real with Radio Jove. So we'll let you know.
I
But
know they have a new receiver system going.
yeah, that's what we're putting in the Radio Jove 2.0. It's what do you call it?
You play SDR.
Yeah, Play SDR. That's based off of that.
I've got a couple of those.
Yeah. And so, but if you can shoot Dave Typinski, AJ4CO, an email. He is, I think, on the Hamsci list, and he's very good. So I'm sure he'd be able to point you to some good observations. And you can also email Chuck Higgins, who's also very good.
Okay.
Joe,
thanks.
what kind of antenna is being used?
It's a twin dipole that are phased. I'll see if I can get the.
Yeah, well, it has to. I was asking Joe what he was receiving with.
I've got a dipole.
Just a single dipole?
Yes.
Okay. Is it oriented east-west or north-south?
North-south.
That might be the problem because you're trying to pick up Jupiter off the end of it.
At that time, Jupiter was much more overhead than it is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As Nathaniel says, usually use a twin dipole and you phase it so that it favors the elevation of Jupiter.
Right. I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to try and put in my backyard.
They say that a Yagi will also work. Regular ham band Yagi.
On 15 meters?
Yes. I mean, it has to be, Jupiter needs to be between the horizon and so many degrees up, and you kind of have the Yagi pointed at it. And
right.
You should be able to see signals on any general coverage receiver that can go between 18 and 22 megahertz.
Okay, well, I've got plenty of receivers.
Okay. Bill Engelke just posted in the chat, which I reposted for everybody. There's a QEX article of Radio Jove observations.
Okay.
And
where is that, Nathaniel?
I just put it in the chat.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, if you have the antenna phased right, Nathaniel, I think your location would be really, really perfect for that. As long as it has a clear view of Jupiter, I think that you're definitely going to get some bursts.
I agree. We just need to make sure we do it right. So, yeah. That'll be nice to have.
Yeah.
It'll be really good for, we get a bunch of students that want to do astronomy stuff. So this will be really good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks, everybody.
Yeah. And David McGaw, did you happen to get the email I sent a couple of weeks ago? Or a week ago?
About what?
I can resend it and then you can let me know.
Trying to remember if I got it.
Make sure I sent it to the right address. I had sent it to david.gmcgaw@dartmouth.edu.
Yep. Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So
I did receive that. Yeah, I'll answer that. Thank you
Okay.
for reminding me.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Bill, I'm assuming you're not going to be at the meeting tomorrow morning, right? The Telecon?
Well, probably not.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, we'll be working on Diego's paper tomorrow morning. So
I figured that was, we need to get that one knocked out first anyway, don't we? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
Ideally, that would be ideal. I guess we're quiet without Scotty.
We haven't heard anything more about the FPGA chips, have we?
Yes, Scotty did hear more about the FPGA chips.
What did he hear?
He said when I spoke to him last week, he said that Arrow has them, and they're supposed to be set aside for us. And he hasn't gotten them from Arrow yet, but he's been told that Arrow has them.
Well, let's hope that's true. That'll be great if that's true.
Yeah. Maybe we will see a pig's fly or something like that.
So what is the plan? Is Kong going to work with the development system and maybe develop this first test pack that you just plug it in and starts, collecting data, say on 10 megahertz and spitting it out as USB packets? I mean, spitting them out as packets. What?
So I'm currently working on the data engine. I'm not exactly sure about what output is expected from this right now. That's what I'm actually one of the things that I want to ask Scotty about, if there's any sort of block diagram. But he said that when the hardware comes, everything should be more, should make more sense to me now.
But yes, Bill, I think that is the plan.
Yeah, what I discussed with Scotty was we need a very simple, almost like a Hello World app that would just start receiving on a fixed frequency, something simple like 5 megahertz or 10 megahertz.
Okay.
And then would simply get the IQ packets and spit it out as, start with something extremely simple like 512 IQ samples per packet, and you spit it out on a fixed port. If we can do that much, we can test that it's receiving WWV and a whole host of other cool stuff. So.
You said spare data. So like, what sort of data are you expecting? What sort of like processing are you expecting?
Well, first, this assumes that we have the radio, the receiver part, and what the FPGA has to do is just turn on, start digitizing samples off the A to D converter, and then writing this. It should be getting IQ samples, and then just start writing them out. As the simplest thing to do is just put them in blocks of 512 IQ samples in each block, and then just output it to a UDP port of your choosing.
Okay.
If we can do that, we can test test the process chain from all the way from the radio through the A to D converter, through the FPGA, through the Ethernet port.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I say I meant to say output it as UDP packets on the Ethernet port. That's
I think you fixed that the second time you said it.
I said USB. I meant to say UDP.
That's good. Got that.
That is yeah, man. Anytime you want to talk to me about it in more detail, give me a call or something. We can go into more detail on offline sometime if you like. Or email me or whatever.
That would be great. I think I have your email from the mailing list, I think. Otherwise, actually, do you mind sending me like a direct message from Zoom chat of your email address and can have it?
I just sent you my phone number in the chat.
Thank you.
And don't hesitate to call anytime. I'm doing very little other than working on this and related projects, so I don't mind getting a call anytime.
Thank you very much. What's your time zone? I just want to know when I call you at say something like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Well, that's been done before. Well, on many occasions, in fact, because I was responsible for years for keeping the flyer communications running at a Mercedes assembly plant that ran 24 hours a day, and it was very frequently calls at 2 o'clock in the morning from Germany.
Oh.
It was 9 o'clock in the morning there. Everything was fine to them. So anyway, no, but I mean, probably you don't need to do that. I mean, are you somebody who has a habit of working all-nighters, pulling all-nighters?
Okay, yeah, I would say so. But I wouldn't do that to you, of course, yeah. That's awesome. That's great. This is just a small things I noticed, but on the Tangerine SDR website, on the data engine, the last link doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, this is I think this is for the Ethernet socket server. I'm not sure if this. Yeah. It takes us to like a broken site.
Okay. I'll check on that.
I can actually send you a new link because I was actually looking at this example from Intel a few days ago.
Yeah, Tom, I have an Ethernet socket server up and working on the development kit board.
Well, that's awesome.
There's a few little gotchas. It comes up about 50% of the time. I had to port the DMA controller over to the new DMA engine because the old one is no longer supported. And I have the board support package built for all of the module interfaces except the USB. What I'm not sure how to do is to pull that information out of Quartus and bundle it up in a way that you can use it, because Quartus has its own SVN system built into the tool, and I haven't spent the time to go figure out how to rip all of that out. I've started coding the protocol for that we use in Tangerine. So there's bits and pieces of the modules that bring up the provisioning channel and all of that. But I stopped at about 6 or 7 months ago because I'm waiting for hardware from Scotty. I can't test any of the I2C or SPI drivers without actual hardware. This is on the Max 10 development kit. It's not on the data engine. And so there'll be some differences. Let me go back and try and resurrect that project. And if I can figure out how to get all those files out, I'll package them up and find a way to get it to you.
That would be great. Yeah, I would love to see that. This is going to be a very complex project.
Yeah. The difficulty was there were a lot of modifications, and Altera didn't continue this simple socket server in a working fashion. And so all of that code was completely broken, and it took quite a bit of work to go get it resurrected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the examples I downloaded from Intel, most of them had to be upgraded. The IPs had to be upgraded, and some of them weren't able to do that. So those examples were completely unusable to me, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, so I went through that process on the simple socket server and got all the updates in and had to rewrite a few things. There's also errors in the code, and I think I've got most of those fixed as well. There were some difficulties. The packages were done using fixed file hierarchy addressing rather than relative. And so they pointed to a lot of files on some developer's workstation somewhere at Altera, which of course are not available in the project tree. So I had to go recreate those, things like that. And so let me go back and try and get that open again and get you a care package.
That would be great. Of course, Intel never give us enough documentation and code for anything.
Yeah, my guess is what happened is when Altera was acquired by Intel, that a lot of those projects fell between the cracks, probably.
Yeah, lots of these are made for Quartz version 17 or 16. We are version 21.1 now.
Yeah, the last version the FPGA were planning on using was version, I think, 20.1 or 20.3. And if you go up to the latest version, I forget the exact version numbers, they don't support that particular Max 10 part. And so if you have a relatively recent version of Quartus, you're not able to use it.
That's right, yeah. That's a problem that I ran into with the dual configuration. I upgraded the IP and some of the design in the QSys system. It's called Platform Designer now.
Yeah.
Some of them disappear for some reason.
Yeah, a lot of them disappeared. Most of them have been updated. The biggest one were the DMA controllers, in that you can't use the DMA controller that they used in the example. You have to use a new one, and then those don't work the same. So and my guess is the bug of getting it started is wrapped in those DMA controllers somewhere. There's an initialization problem, because I saw what appeared to be hundreds of mods to those controllers by the developer. So I think they're doing a lot of bug chasing. Someone asked a question in the chat. I've got it working on Ubuntu 20.04. The Windows version has got a problem in that it cannot generate a working DDR3 RAM controller. Only the Ubuntu or the Linux version can do that. And so I had to use the Linux version to actually generate a functional socket server. So I haven't looked at it in about 7 months or so. Hopefully Scotty will get out some stuff and we can actually have real registers hooked up to the FPGA pins, and that'll allow us to start debugging. I've got it to the point where I was writing the IO drivers in the C code for the NEOS processor, and pretty much got stopped because there's no actual hardware to test out the driver IO. And so that's where I kind of archived the project at that point. But if you can send me a private message with your email address, I'll let you know where I am and where the code is.
I will take you up on that. Do you mind sending me your email address?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's n5eg@tapper.org.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's an alias. Just send it there and I'll reply back with the real email address and all of that stuff. And if I can figure out how to get the stuff out of the SVN tool that's built into Quartus, I'm sure there's a way to export it. I just never got around to doing that.
Okay, yeah. There should be an export button on the file.
There should be.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is.
Mm-hmm.
That's bit me before. I've gone in and just changed files, recoded something and swapped out a file and had the SVN that's built in bomb the build. You have to, in fact, go in and use their SVN tool to delete and then add a new file. You can't just replace a file in the directory or it confuses their magic undercover SVN tool.
Wow. The future sounds rough for me.
Yeah. Once you get over the weird stuff, it comes up and runs pretty well. I got the debugger working. The only thing I didn't get working was any way to hardware JTAG debug, and that's because I don't know any of the Verilog stuff, and so I'm not smart enough to go in there and figure out how to do Verilog JTAG debugging, but it'll probably work. No, I'm sorry, it won't. That doesn't work on the 64-bit version of Ubuntu. That was the problem. It only works on the 32-bit version, and I tried to get that up. No, I'm sorry. That's the problem with shelving something for 7 months. It was Model Sim that doesn't work under Ubuntu, because Model Sim only works under the 32-bit version of the tool set. It doesn't work under 64-bit. And I tried to get it working under the 32-bit version of the tool set and never succeeded. And I think maybe your Red Hat version of Linux, you might have more success there. If you need Model Sim, you may not need Model Sim to do what you're trying to do. I do believe we're going to be down into debugging the DMA controller initialization somewhere down in the Verilog. I think other folks have had problems with that as well.
Have you tried, I think Quartus has a new simulation software now. I think they call it Questa, I think.
Okay, I've not heard anything about it.
Yeah, they got a new one. They're trying to replace Model Sim with Questa. I haven't tried it yet, so I can't say much about it.
It may be. I think that they had an issue where they licensed a lot of the simulation for Model Sim, and that license may have had some limitations that made it difficult for them to move forward in time with the package. And so if so, there may be a better solution looking forward. And Dave, I want to correct something I said earlier on. I did get Quartus working under VMs, but I did not get the JTAG USB interface working because that requires passing through the IO MMUs to the virtual machine. And the way that my server is set up, I can't do that easily.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I had the whole package up and running under a VM, but to do anything useful with a target, it had to be on a real machine.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, I think I ran into that problem when I looked through your documentation. So I had to switch to CentOS. I believe that is more similar to the Red Hat Linux distro. So that didn't give me any problem at all. I was able to, program and test the system without any obstacles.
Yeah, I had to patch around the mod probe in Linux to get the JTAG programmer working. I got that up and working. The limitation right now is we don't have a license for Quartus, and that poses some practical problems with trying to debug because you have to leave the host attached to the JTAG, and the intellectual property is all encrypted. So you cannot debug it at the hardware level until we get a license to do that. So we have, I was able to at least get Neos up, write C code, execute it, get the socket server up and running, that kind of stuff. But we have to, we'll have to get a license, and we've got to go through all of those things. So we still have a long set of tasks out in front of us to get that working. But at least we did have a UDP socket server. It does speak a bunch of the Tangerine protocol, not all of it, but as much as I got time to code. So we have bits and pieces up and running.
Very good. I'll get that link fixed on the website. Thank you.
No problem.
Nathaniel, got a question about your club activities.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay. Yeah, I've been having some interruptions with my internet tonight for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah,
is
go
it
ahead.
me or is it just you or both?
It's me.
Okay. What frequency or what band were you on, and how high up was the buddy pole?
We were on 20 meters, 14.243 megahertz. And we had the buddy pole extended to the maximum the tripod would go. And yeah.
Okay, well, we've got several buddy poles here, and we can go anywhere from about 8 feet up to about 18 feet.
I guess it was, I don't know what the maximum extension is on ours. It's about twice as tall as I am, I guess. So
okay.
I can show you, put the pictures up, and then you can see again. Let's get the right photo here. I actually have a bunch of videos because NASA wanted videos. See if I can. Try to find one. There's the buddy pole over there.
Right.
I think at some point we did.
I think I saw one picture of it. It was up fairly far.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of trouble getting other people. I can tune the thing. I can get it working, get a good SWR, and the SWR, of course, changes as the height goes up and down. But other people just don't seem to have a knack for doing that.
Oh, it was really tricky. We spent a good, 30 minutes or so, or maybe longer. That's pretty much extended all the way.
Okay, so, that's twice as tall as anybody there.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had it up pretty high.
Okay. The one I have, which belongs to the Red Cross, only goes up about 8 feet.
Okay.
Daniel, did you have an antenna analyzer, or were you just using SWR meter on the rig?
Yeah, I had the antenna analyzer.
Okay.
So we got it about as good as you could get it. Right at 14.25.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was they give you a chart that says here's the settings, and so we got that all set, and then we did the analyzer. It took a couple of tries to figure out what to adjust to get right on, but we got it.
It's a lot of trial and error, I have found, and an antenna analyzer is almost essential.
Yeah, I told the students I thought this would make a good club activity to do like a race to see which student can tune the buddy pole the fastest.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Kung was there. Kung, what did you think about it?
It took a lot longer than I expected. Yeah, I thought we just stretch everything out and then that's it, but no. We were there under the sun for a very long time.
The county has 3 of these, and they were using them for emergency communications. And of course, the buddy pole doesn't work on 75, 80 very well.
Right.
But we had a lot of trouble. There were only I would say, the more technically capable amateurs were able to actually get that thing working, to get it tuned.
Yeah. I
Anyway,
think it's
congratulations.
Thank you. I think it's a great demonstration piece for like talking about resonant structures and things like that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of the things that I basically got it for was, using it in classroom demos and for radio club demos and stuff like that. So
it looks like a rig expert sitting on the table.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, that was
We take part in the Flagstaff STEM celebration, and in previous years, we've set up a buddy pole behind our exhibit just for appearance. It was inside the building, so we didn't expect to use it.
Yeah. And that's what we did at the club fair last year too, to try and attract students who just put the thing up and then I'd let students try to tune it with the rig expert.
It takes a little bit of practice.
Just a little bit. I'm the first one to actually properly get that thing tuned in 9 months of owning the thing. So we've had students, and I'm the first person to actually get it. We got it right on.
My impression is that's for a person who really dedicates his energy to learning it, and then takes it out and works it on 10 through maybe 20 meters. 40 is pretty hopeless.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. I think, I think once you get it up and down a couple times, if you're well practiced at it, I think, and your buddy pole, I think you can be fairly effective at it.
That's the key. I live in the second largest county in the U.S., and only San Bernardino is another 1,000 miles bigger. But it's a long way. It's basically 2.5 hours drive to the north part, down to the south, from the central to the north, and down central down to the south. And we were trying to get those going, and it just wasn't very successful.
Nathaniel?
Yeah.
Do you use the trick of a half wavelength or multiples of a half wavelength of coax feed so that you can actually see the antenna feed point impedance?
I don't.
Yeah, that's an awful helpful trick when you're trying to tune the antenna itself and not interact with the feed line.
That is a good point. I just used the feed line, the stock feed line that it came with, and I didn't think about that. But that is a good idea.
My version has some ferrite beads on the feed line.
That's always a good idea too. Yeah.
And that helps reduce that problem you're speaking of. But that's an interesting idea. I'll have to keep that in mind when we put this thing up again.
Yeah, actually, Joe was talking about the interaction between the actual feed point impedance and the impedance of the transmission line at the frequency you're operating at.
Right.
So, and there's 2 things. There's the feed line currents, which are a separate feed line shield currents, which are a separate thing, and you can take care of that with a 31 material multi-turn choke or ferrite beads. And then the other trick is the half wavelength business. So,
so they're half wavelength or one or multiples,
or multiple of a half wavelength. Yes.
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Yes, I agree. Thanks.
Yeah.
I just slapped the antenna analyzer on there and start tweaking.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I have an older antenna analyzer with a Bluetooth connection that actually I can connect directly to the antenna feed line or the antenna feed point, sans feed line, raise the whole thing up, and with remote Bluetooth actually look at the antenna impedance, adjust it that way, and then connect the feed line after that.
That's nice.
Oh, interesting.
Well, one more message for Jonathan. Jonathan, you probably already know this, but I did a lot of mowing on Saturday.
Actually, I didn't really get much.
Really?
Yeah, it was weird. Um,
I was mowing for like, I don't know, 4 hours on Saturday.
wow. Yeah, no,
And I drove like right over the trench. You saw that picture, I was right next to that. Yeah, so like I mowed this track out here, and you can see how close I was to the VLF receiver.
oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just the way that you were mowing the last time. I'm not sure. But
I have a hard time believing. I mean, it's Rachel's dad mowing last time. I have a hard time believing it would be. I mean, he might have mowed even closer, but I mean, it's pretty close.
yeah, that's really weird. I mean, it might not have been a lawnmower. It might have been something else. Uh, maybe something with the, that the neighbors were doing. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it was it was pretty. It was a fairly long duration for it to generate over 600 false events in just a span of a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't imagine what else is doing it. I mean, as I did say, my neighbor back here, he's an excavator, and so sometimes he does stuff with large excavation type equipment back there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was doing something and it captured his ignition system. I mean, that's always a possibility, but yeah, it's hard to say. It was pretty interesting though. Something that generated all those events, but it seems like it's a pretty rare occurrence. So it's not really a big deal. But it was just funny when I saw, over 600 files.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I would have thought that would have done it, but
yeah, I don't know, but so far there was just some regular normal false events. Mostly now, like if a spheric is too loud, it'll cause the filter to the hum filter to ring out, and that generates a buzzing sound. And if that buzzing sound has strong enough changing frequency components, then it'll flag that as a false event, and that's usually what I get. But um, other than that, nothing really. Maybe like a motor here and there, but nothing too bad. There were more motors in the winter months and the spring months than there are now. I'm also not sure why.
Yeah.
But that's just how the local, environment is. Sometimes you get those false events. It just depends on what people do.
Yeah.
I just checked the today's grape plot, and it's much more back to normal than it was in the plots that I was showing earlier. It's got a pretty straight line for daylight hours, picking up 10 megahertz WWV. So you can see what the various geomagnetic currents are doing to the radio signals.
Yeah.
I noticed that there was a CME that went by today unnoticed. So it presumably was aligned with the Earth's field, so it kind of went by laminar flow rather than causing a storm.
This was the AE plot from the 28th.
Yeah.
And so
I went back and checked, and from the 27th to the 28th, there were several of the 3-hour periods that were KP = 5. That was a very active day.
Yeah.
There was aurora seen as well.
Well,
Yeah.
Mid-latitude, that is.
we're definitely climbing out of solar minimum.
There's definitely a paper to be written here as well. We just need more people who have time to write papers.
Well, there was some discussion today at the CCMC meeting. Some of the models are suggesting that there's going to be that our peak for solar activity is going to be higher than previously forecasted. So that's getting some hams excited.
Yeah,
there was a forecast that this solar max would not really be as dramatic, as going to be lower than the previous one, which wasn't that great either. But now some of the most recent models are showing it's going to be bigger than the last one.
Yeah, spaceweather.com today has a discussion about that.
As of a couple of weeks ago, there's one particular person who puts out a gorgeous plot of the solar activity, and the prediction was following the actual recorded numbers rather closely. That was several weeks ago, though. Trying to find where that would be. Propagation, date modified. Okay, I'm going to share my my screen here if I can do that. I need to learn how to unshare it. Okay, here we go. And share. Oops, got the wrong one. Oops, I have to find the right one here. Oh, that was years ago. Here we go. And that shows the actual activity versus the prediction here. But it was following pretty closely, but maybe that's changed now. And let me see when this was. Okay, so how do I unshare? Stop share. There we go. Hathaway is the professor's name.
Yeah, he does. I always liked his figures.
Oh, the things are gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, I've used those in some of my presentations, and I like them a lot.
But I'll have to check and see what the latest is on that, because we, of course, have a very keen interest in solar activity. Anyway, thanks, everybody.
Could I share?
Go for it.
Yeah, I have it up on what space weather's showing. Let's see if I can bring it up. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're showing here that the our current rise is outperforming the original prediction, which is the blue, which would have been equal to our past week cycle. And then the other curves are like averages and an updated projection, and the current numbers seem to be following that, not the original.
Well, I sure look forward to some more activity, because I got WAS on 6 meters. And the only way I did that was with F2.
Right.
To help with Alaska, Hawaii, and of course, New England. And the last one was Delaware, the last state. This was back in, what, the late 60s, early 70s.
Yep. Yeah, this also mentions the CME impact that clearly BZ was positive, so it just kind of passed by. Oh well.
Anyway, that's interesting. Thanks for showing that.
Yep.
Yeah, this could be a lot of fun. I'm working on a DXCC on 6 meters. I got 60 countries so far. Only 40 more to go.
I'm gonna have to get my beam up a little higher to do that, but I have aspirations in that direction.
I'm still working on getting my real station at Scranton. ARDC did say they would fund the station, so we're working on it. I'm trying to, I'll probably be asking them for a little bit more because I got the dean to give us a nicer room for the actual station. So it's right down the hall, but we're gonna need a little bit more money to get that room ready for it. But if it goes, we are gonna have a really nice station here.
How are your antennas going?
Well, that's what this would fund. It would be we're supposed to put up a 40-foot tower with a Skyhawk and satellite antennas and wire antennas for the low bands. So ARDC has committed to the funding. I'm trying to get the project rolling. I have a contractor who's going to do the antenna work and the installation.
What building is it on, physics or engineering?
Well, our physics and engineering are the same building.
Are the same?
So, yeah. In fact, I'm lucky. I work in a physics and engineering department. So so it's actually very good for my particular line of work. So
I ask somewhat tongue in cheek because we were asked to take our antennas down off of the engineering building because we don't do radio here.
Oh. Well,
they were unsightly. But yeah, we actually ended up taking one tower down that was in view from the faculty balcony. That was the problem.
I don't
we
know
have
that
our others still up.
I don't know that my university fully understands how big this tower is going to be, because if they understood, I'm not sure that it would go forward. But
well, the other interesting thing is that on my building, I have a number of antennas, but if I were to put them in permanently, we would have to get a permit with the town. So they are temporary antennas set on pallets and stuff, so that they can be easily moved should the need arise, or should anybody ask.
That's very good. Yeah, I have to say, like, I'm very grateful ARDC has given us the funding, and so far I have gotten all of the administrative approvals I'm supposed to have, and everything looks like it's going forward. But I am still nervous that it's not over till it's over, right? So I really
our
hope
current problem is we've got our current problem is we have an exhaust fan that's creating a tremendous amount of hash. It didn't used to. It was a straight wired 3-phase AC motor. But in their infinite wisdom, when they redid the fume hoods, they put a variable speed drive on it with no filtering. And I put one of our antennas up near it and was just swamped by noise. Used a AM radio to sniff out where it was coming from. It was coming from this motor. Said, wait a minute, this is a straight AC motor. No, no brushes, no nothing. And it turns out they put a variable speed drive on it, which is pulse modulated. And now we've also found that it gets into our Josephson junction experiment in one of our student labs. So they're going to have to fix it.
There's a big push in the name of efficiency to make everything have switching power supplies, and it's driving the entire radio communications industry nuts.
Absolutely. Yeah, the interesting thing is the variable speed has it running at 67 hertz. They're overclocking it.
Oh, well, they just needed a little more volume of air.
Right.
Gads.
Yeah. It also combines the fume hoods and the exit air from the offices on the same floor. It's like, wait a minute, isn't that like combining furnace and wood stove chimneys? Things can backflow. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with some of these issues too.
Yeah.
Because I know like our tower is slated to get clamped to the I-beam that holds up the wall that surrounds the fume hoods on top of the building. So I know all those things you're talking about with fume hood motors and all this other stuff. I know it's very possible that could affect me too.
Yeah. One thing you might do, Nathaniel, is take an AM radio up to the roof and sniff around. You
well,
tune it to.
I have an RF Pro 1B up there right now.
Oh, okay.
And so we have done some HF listening, and we're going to install I've had a QE SDR up there for before, but I ended up we just sent that to Hawaii. We're going to be putting a radio. We're just going to attach the radio Jove to that RF Pro 1B within the next few days, so we'll be able to monitor it again. I found that putting a bandpass filter on the system, a 3 to 3 megahertz bandpass filter, helped tremendously.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I had some of those around. I just slapped one of those on, and that really helped.
Well, again, I would recommend take an AM radio, tune it to a unused channel, and sniff around up there. You might find some the sources of pulse noise that could be filtered out.
Okay.
That might be what's giving you that the noise that your filter is taking care of.
That's a good idea.
Do you have any roof-mounted solar arrays with microinverters?
Oh God.
Think
yeah,
so.
Those are horrible.
Yeah.
I don't think we do. I haven't seen any roof-mounted solar arrays.
Good.
Our county EOC has a co-located couple of 100 kilowatt solar array. Fortunately, those do not use those little micro inverters. However, there was a lot of noise, and my contact at emergency management went outside, and one of the doors off the inverters was blown off and had hit the wall about 10 feet away, enough to make quite a dent in the wall. And apparently a capacitor, excuse me, stand by. Apparently a filter capacitor had exploded. And after they replaced the bad item, the RF noise at the EOC went way down. It was still pretty bad, but it was a lot better than it had been. So parts do fail, and filtering can help.
That sounds like one that was put in
I have
backwards.
a solar array on my roof of my house with 38 panels, and each one of them has one of those microinverters on it. They call them optimizers. And I read an article in QST before I built the system about a guy who put in the same system I was putting in on how to treat for RF. And I've
seen that.
Had the electricians put all of these ferrites between every panel and the microinverter, and ferrites in between each inverter, and then a big honking, it's about 2 cubic feet of filter in between the main inverter for the AC system and my AC panel. And I have had no problems with noise.
That
I mean,
sounds
you
like
can
a
see
fairly
some
expensive.
little. Yeah. It added money to it. Sure.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
good
hey,
to
if
know
you're
that
up
there
on
is a
creek-
right way to do it.
Right.
It can be done. I mean, there's a very nice, it's actually the cover article of in QST.
Yeah, about
If
6
anybody
years
wants to
ago.
know, I can. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that also. Yep.
August of 15 or 16 or something like that.
Yeah. But what they figured out works like a champ. I mean, if I really want to find the noise, I can find some little tiny birdies here and there. But they're not enough to interfere with my DXing activities or anything. And I mean, I look at it this way. If I'm in a DX competition, I just turn the solar array off. And it's only half the day anyway, because it only generates noise when it's illuminated by the sun. So it's really not a problem at all.
This array that we have is line tie. And if the grid goes down, amateur radio would be really needed, and we don't have a noise problem. Because those inverters won't work unless the grid is up. Same situation. But
yeah, I mean, I can run my whole station and everything on a generator, and if need be.
I've got a whopping big battery here. I ordered a 100 amp hour battery. They didn't have any, so they offered to send me 150 at the same price. So I've got 150 amp hour lithium here about 10 feet from me. Well, that'll run the radio for a while. It won't run the kilowatt amplifier, but it will run everything else. Anyway, noise. It's getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, I think I'm gonna say 73 here.
Yep, same here, folks. Gotta move on.
As I said,
73.
I may or may not be on for the next 2 weeks because of some conferences and travel I'm going to. So I may see you next week and the week after, or I may be 3 weeks.
Okay, 7-3.
Thank you.
Okay, enjoy the QSO 73.
Bye.
Bye all.
Later.